Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. So, we are back once more. Now, this is going to be one of those State of the Empire videos. We're basically going to be going over there. The revision of plans, really. Probably the best way to describe it. Okay, so where to begin? First of all, I have been sworn off advancing on Pigo for the time being. It's one of these of where I would like to move on these islands in the future. But it's hard to argue with logic. I mean, the logic pretty much dictates the fact that we are practically on our limit in terms of logistics over here in New Caledonia. We can't advance infinitely. We do have to fuel our assets. We have to keep the supply and the fuel in the area, and we have to be able to look after that to ensure it survives as well. So as far as it goes, to really illustrate that point, New Caledonia has no fuel, Lucanville has no fuel, Delag, Ibuen, Ramal, no fuel. The Marshals do need a influx of fuel as well. The only source of fuel out this way is truck. So as you can imagine, let's take a look. So from truck to Pigo is about 63 hexes. That's a long way to go to get some fuel. Obviously we would have oilers moving around the area, we'd have tankers moving around the area. But we are at the limits of the logistics here. I had intended to move on this area. But even then, I'd always spoken about making sure that when we do move into this area, it would obviously be under the cover of the Kitabatai, and we'd be looking at taking these islands to establish search planes out there. It's one of these. It probably is a little bit too far, probably, as said to me, a bridge too far for the moment, which is okay. Now, what I'm going to be doing then is moving to submarines in the area. They're going to be moving around here to Auckland. We are going to be moving. I do have 2 destroyed minesweepers over here. One is going to be heading for Lord Howe, the other is going to be heading for Norfolk Island. We do have another one over here at Luganville, which is the damaged destroyer Amigiri. Yep. This is obviously an order save as well, so in the actual proper version, this is just one I took before obviously it was done. She doesn't have the correct fuel here, but obviously the correct version of the game, which I submitted, she has the fuel she needs. But as you can see, she'll be moving out at 30 knots. She'll be carrying quite a few men, might take a day or two to load up dependent, which is going to be making her way down to Rule Island. And what I'm going to do then is take some of the submarines. I believe I have the submarine from Norfolk Island tasked to head down to Rule Island and use these search aircraft really just to try and give us an idea of what's going on. Okay. As far as it goes, we will be conducting a deliberate attack at Noumea next turn. We do have the advantage of men, material, and vehicles as well. Definitely the guns as well, which is really fantastic. I mean, obviously we don't have air power. Well, I could throw air power at it, but it is no need for that. As we can see here, Johor, there we go, Noumea. Now, obviously in the attack we did see 5,620 troops there, 73 guns. Now, whether or not that is the actual true and accurate number is unknown. I'm going to assume it probably is. We can see there 73 guns. Now we did use 132 from just the artillery. So as you can imagine, we will be going in here quite hard. So see the the artillery regiments will open up once again. Which is quite nice. We have the 2nd Field Artillery Regiment and the 17th. The 17th are the ones that are doing really all the damage there with the 15cm guns. Those are some pretty big guns. You can see here that we do have more supplies than we require, which is fantastic. There's enough supply on the island to actually sustain battle for a few days in a row if we so choose to do so. The forces, I mean, the artillery does have some fatigue, but the rest of our forces over here, very little in the way of fatigue. Some of them have a little bit more, but disruption is very low. The infantry regiment is 0. The 2nd regiment, the 4th infantry regiment, has 1. So you can see not too bad at all. You can obviously see the 144th does have, appears to have more of its equipment. They have 80 experience, 98 morale, 88 and 97. The Naval Guard is a little bit low there in experience, but for the most part, average experience is pretty good here. So we have about 403 combined assault value, really, something of that sort of nature. I don't think we'll break through on the first attempt. I think it's going to be one of those. We have to expect fortifications at Noumea. So it'll probably take a 2-3 day sort of gig but it will fall in time. Each time we do attack, it is harder for him to actually repulse us, so that's good news. I'm taking these submarines and having them sent to Auckland as well. Now, I did discuss this. I don't know if I've got the moves set here. Okay, so I've got the moves roundabout set over here. The two sections of the Kitabutai. The first section over here, undetected. The second section over here is undetected. So what is going to happen here then, basically, is the first section of the Kitabutai is going to move in a few miles off from Townsville, off from the coast here. We did spot this task force over here. It is unknown really what it's made up of. But we're going to be moving within range there to strike at the force in Townsville. We do see the two light cruisers over here. Whether or not it's indeed two light cruisers, we previously saw 3 ships sighted, so it's unknown. But it might be 2 or 3, but we do see 2 light cruisers over here. Now, they're going to be coming within range of the Kitabutai. The other section of the Kitabutai is going to be moving into range as well. So that should score us some nice kills in this area. What I'm going to be doing then is moving the Kitabutai up into this area as well. Maybe 1 section, maybe 2 sections, but we do need to clear the area of all shipping. I really want to clear this area out, and then what we'll be doing is moving our forces from Rabaul via naval transport to Buna. Now, previously I was going to be using a force that was in truck already, with the LSDs and the fast transports. But instead what I've decided to do then, consider the fact that we do have near enough full munitions over here, more or less full munitions. A decent escort, the Kinigusa and the destroyers over here, escort patrol boat, AMCs over here, do actually have an oil I need to get moving. But we do have plenty of troop transports. We have the Hirakawa Maru, the Haruna Maru, and the Kashima Maru. Plenty of other transport ships, cargo ships, really. We're carrying about 10,000 tons of supply. So we do have a pretty hefty carrying capacity. We might not be able to load up everything, but that's no issue. So what they're going to be doing, obviously they're still routed to go to truck and this save. But what they're going to do is they're going to be tasked with heading to Rabaul to pick up the actual forces at Rabaul, the 56th Division, and then they're going to be transporting them over to Buna. From Buna, they will begin the march to Port Moresby once the division is fully assembled. The good news is I can get some supply pumped in over here. I don't know what the supply capacity of the base is like, but I'm sure I'll be able to keep the supply up and going, which will be quite nice. These assets over here are Tulagi. Now, initially we did set them into something of a war footing, expecting this, but what I've gone ahead and decided is that this force over here with the battleship Mutsu, and of course the heavy cruiser, they're going to return to track. This force over here is going to head out to Rabaul. This force is going to act as our basic responsive warship unit, well, surface assets in the area. They're going to be really used for fairly quick reactions against low-key threats. As far as it goes for New Caledonia, because I don't intend to turn the Kitabutai around. Basically, they're going to move up into this area. Afterwards, they're going to move back to truck. They've been in the Coral Sea for quite some time now. I need to go back to truck. We'll recover some damage there, ideally to the ships if we do have time. But rearm, potentially take on some fresh captains, change some of the commanders of the different ships and that sort of stuff, really. But most importantly of all, we'll take on the replacement Zeros, which will be quite good. At the moment we have about 28 in our pool. We might have a fair few more by the time we do arrive at truck, so that would be quite nice. The islands of New Caledonia and Luganville, Espirito Santo and New Caledonia basically, they'll be able to look after themselves with the air headquarters over there. I'm going to be moving down a naval bomber squadron or 2 into that area, so they'll be okay. They've got a KI-43-1C squadron out here as well. So what I'm going to be doing then is basically building up a large airfield out here. Now, I could do with like a size 4 or even larger airfield. Probably 4 is good enough. It's a good size. Now, obviously, we are not too far away from size 2 over here. But we'll have to compare the islands. So I have a supply limit of 17,000 here. We do have a limited size 3 on the port. We have a limit of size 5 on the airfield. New mayor over here. She can have a pretty large port, and she can have a pretty large airfield. It might be that we make our big base over here in Noumea. It's the fact we're going to have to see, once we do capture Noumea, just what sort of resource production and light industry survives. If we do have the capability to produce a small amount of supply here, it might be worthwhile. But as far as it goes, we'll take a look at the terrain. We have jungle rough over here, and we have jungle rough over here. The issue is New Caledonia is a much larger island. There's Comac, Lafoa, Bellep Island over here to look after as such. But it is pretty strong. It would be quite nice. It gives the potential to hold on to far more supplies and even potentially fall back. But I imagine if he was to land on the island, he'd probably land either directly there at Comac or elsewhere. So as far as it goes, I believe what I'll be doing then is leaving behind the naval guard to garrison the island. The difficulty comes into the aspect of, like, how do we effectively garrison this? What I'd be looking for then is really using naval guard at potentially each of these bases. The idea being, well, that's one of these. Numea will be fortified. Comac, maybe. Probably best to fortify as such. The good news is, at least if we do have supply production, I can actually fortify to some extent. But I don't know what the supply production rate is going to be like. I can't imagine it'd be great. Okay. I'm going to be sending a patrol boat out from Luganville, carrying 1,000 tons of supplies to Funafuti. What we're going to be doing, basically, is I'm going to be building up a airfield over here. And we're going to get engineers down here to survive the future. So engineers here, engineers here. I'm going to be looking to move engineers to Canton and Baker Island as well. Get some supply out that way. Basically, I want to be forewarned of anything moving in this area. Okay. The 56th Division obviously could be moving down there. But as far as it goes, the vast majority of our assets here in the Coral Sea, they're going to be stood down. Well, the Coral Sea and obviously out here in the Pacific, they're going to be more or less stood down. I'm looking to save fuel. Operation No, basically down here in the Coral Sea, is pretty much a success. It's been very difficult for us to reach this point. But we very much are at the point now where we are looking at success here, which is excellent. Numea shall fall. Port Moresby is next on the chopping block, which is why I've got the Kiddipatai over there. The good news is this convoy. It's going to take them a little while to arrive about that way. I might be able to speed it up potentially, but it won't take them too long. And the good thing is it's like a lot of assets that can be moving these out here. It means I don't have to move more ships to do what these ships can do already, which is fine. Okay, now moving on to the big change in the plans. Now, obviously, this one is to remain the same as before. The only change I'm going for is I'm moving. Let's see. I do have... yeah. So I do have this Force and Naval Guard over here. They're going to be moving down to take the base at Manado. The 4th Division is obviously going to be moving upon Ambon. Oops. So we're going to do that. Take a look at that. Right. So the Naval Guard will take this. The 4th Division is going to be moving down here. So the 4th Division, a detachment maybe, whichever one, A, B, or C. Another detachment over here. And then another detachment over here. What I'm going to be looking to do then is a sharp, brutal movement into the Banda Sea, the Macassar, just in this general area here, really. Just try to completely crush resistance and take these bases, secure very large airfields in the area, nice large ports as well, but effectively neutralize the area in one fell swoop as such. The Kiddipatai, the mini Kiddipatai, will obviously be ensured of ensuring that success. I do have... yeah... we have cruisers there, destroyers, APDs. So we do have a fair amount of assets to make that work. Obviously, what I'll do then is move up air power over this way as well, which would be quite good. But the big plan here is really the change of our attitude towards the Dutch East Indies in general. What I'm going to be looking for now is how to bring about the fall of Singapore. At the moment, I only have the... okay, it's actually a little bit better than I thought. So we have the 18th and the 5th Division and the Imperial Guard. So we have 3 divisions down here already. I thought for some reason that we only had 2 of them. But that's fine, makes it easier. So we have 3 divisions down here at the moment. This one's a little bit more weakened. Looks like it's got obviously less equipment. But we have 2 very strong divisions there. But what I'm going to be doing here... previously, I was going to be moving the 48th Division out into the Pacific to take... Pago. But what they're going to be doing is instead they're going to be moving out here to Singora in Malaya. They're going to be moved to Singora, and then they're going to be loaded up on the rail lines, they're going to be loaded up on the rails, and taken down here to Johor, Peru. But that's not the only division I'm moving in there. I am going to have the 38th and artillery retire out, depending on if the artillery is on the same. Southern Army. Some of these can't be taken out. But these 2 units of heavy artillery can be taken out. Yes, they'll be excellent at Singapore, especially the 280mm howitzers. Very good, very good. So they're going to be taken out of China. The reason I'm able to take them out is due to the fact that they are assigned to Southern Army. Southern Army is an unrestricted command. It's not actually bound to China. I'm going to be taking the 38th Division, but I'm also going to be taking the 21st Division, which is also assigned to the Southern Army. In fairness, what I could probably do then is look for assets assigned to the Southern Army and get them moving out. Like, all these engineers need to be moved out elsewhere. Really, ASAP, to be honest. But yeah, the 21st Division is going to be moving out as well. So we'll have the 38th, the 21st, and the 48th moving to Malaya, which will bring us up to 6 divisions within about a week or 2 weeks, something of that sort of nature. I'm going to be saving my points as well, and I'm going to be looking to release another division from potentially China or Japan, really. There is... let's see. Right, okay. Certain divisions are cheaper to release than others, obviously due to the fact that they've taken damage. So let's see here, the 6th Division. Okay, so 13 points there. We're going to be looking for around about 16 to 1800 points, something of that sort of nature in terms of political points. I was previously going to be releasing the Guards Mixed Brigade from Tokyo, but I'm not going to do that. Now, I do have some assets over here, such as, well, unrestricted assets. Such as the 2nd Reconnaissance, the 82nd and 83rd Naval Guard. Now, the Naval Guard assets, I could potentially have moved down here, probably move down to this area. I was considering using them for an invasion of the Aleutians, but it depends. I'm probably going to be looking towards this area in March. I'm going to set a sort of time... Well, we'll say a goal. We'll say that we'll move into this area in March and into the Aleutians in March, and roughly. Something of that sort of nature, really. We do have men returning from Midway, which is good. So as you can see here that we have the 24th Infantry Regiment. Now, let's see. You can see that at Rabal. What I'm going to be doing, basically, is as far as I mentioned over here at New Caledonia leaving the Naval Guard, you might be thinking, well, what about the infantry regiments? What about the Imperial Japanese Army forces? I'm going to look to return them into the Empire. And I'm going to look to actually rebuild them into their full divisions. We need divisions, not regiments. As you can see here, the 55th Division. All of them in Malaya. Had these guys been in... Well, had these men been in Malaya, I would have been able to reform the 55th Division. But they're all the way out here in New Caledonia. I mean, that's such a far distance. Can you imagine being part of that division thinking, right, okay, well, we're all in Malaya. Where's these other guys? Oh, we're just over in New Caledonia. You what? It's like, wow, okay, that's quite far. So indeed. The plan's going to be something of a pincer, really. So we'll obviously have these divisions, so the 38th, 21st, 48th. Just pretend that says 48. There we go, it's a kind of weird 48. Yep, so that's another 3 divisions. We have 3 down here, the 5th, the 18th, and the Imperial Guard, which are about there, so that's 3. So obviously we'll have 6 divisions. That is a lot of assault value. Obviously we're going to be increasing the amount of artillery as well. We do have some armoured assets. But we're going to be throwing about 6 divisions at Singapore. As far as it goes, in terms of the actual area at large, we'll have 6 divisions in Malaya. We'll have 1 division down here in the Celebes area. You might be thinking, well, what about the brigade that you've been talking about at Takao? Now, the 6th Brigade, I believe it is, the 65th Brigade. Now, you can see there, 4,000 troops. You can see they do come with only about 33 guns. They're not exactly the most well-armed. It's mostly... just think of it as like a regiment, but it's got just more men, really. It's like, yeah, it's basically a larger regiment as such. Some might say a brigade. But indeed, they're going to be readied up, and they're going to be the ones to make the landings over here at Balikpapan, Samarinda, obviously Tarakan, obviously use them to take control of Borneo. our first target probably has to be Balikpapan. Okay. Another change here. The submarines in the area, their home port has been changed to Miri. So what we're doing here at the moment is I'm going to have a submarine tender moved out from Formosa. We have the Nagoya Maru. She's going to be moving down there to Miri. Basically, we're going to set up shop out that way with fuel and obviously a submarine tender so we can rearm, refuel over here. Basically, remain on station longer in this area. When Balikpapan falls, I'll do the same at Balikpapan, and then obviously we'll have more time on operations, which is great. Well, more time basically active. I'm doing something similar in the Coral Sea. At the moment, I'm moving the Rio de Janeiro to Tulagi. I might have, because I do have another submarine chaser here. Sorry, submarine chaser, submarine tender. I might have it remain here, either here at Luganville or Noumea. Noumea would be quite good. It'd be somewhat threatened, so I could potentially have it at Comac, maybe. But it depends, really. I need to have fuel. So it might be that we potentially have the submarine tenders move back to Guadalcanal, or even maybe Rabaul, somewhere that is protected. I mean, you can imagine having a submarine tender out here at New Caledonia. That would make it very... I mean, that'd be great. Be really good. But it would be threatened, so we've got to bear that one in mind. So for the moment, I'm moving one submarine tender down here to Tulagi, because I can get some fuel down here to Tulagi and maybe use it as an intermediate submarine tender base. Okay. Now, what we're going to do over here in China. The 104th Division and Engineers, well, sorry, the 104th Division and Artillery, they're going to remain here. They're not going to advance into this position here. This Chinese force is unfortunately too strong for us at the moment. So what we're going to do is take the 3rd Division and have them meet up with the 104th Division. Now, that'll bring us up to about 1 and like 2/3 of a division, or 1 and 1/3 of a division. Basically, the 3rd got beaten pretty heavily. There's a very large amount of Chinese here. So what we're going to do then is try to assemble a 2-division task force, obviously with the amount of artillery over here. The artillery that can't be moved out of China will head out and join them over here as well. I'll look towards bringing more troops here. And yes, we'll use them to try and potentially force a crossing. It is a shame though, because that is a very large amount of Chinese there. Very strong force there. But I'm going to be looking towards using air power to hurt them. Speaking of air power, we do have our bombers. Now, the bombers... Take a look. The actual KI-21 2As, I think it is, that were in Marie, that did hit Singkawang, they've been moved. I've moved them to Takao. So as you can see over here, we have 136 in total and 130 ready. Obviously there's more down at Borneo that needs to move up. But yes, we have about 130 here at the moment. Now, in this turn, the 130 bombers are tasked with hitting Wenghao. We're going to be obviously hitting the airfield again, really trying to hit the actual airfield's supply base, try and starve that base. I've got a number of engineers over here. As if we take a look. So the 39th Division's moving to Shanghai to replace the 21st and obviously be replenished. The 17th Mixed Brigade remains here, but the 4th Mortar Battalion and the 26th Engineers Regiment, they're going to be moving out here to Wenghao. Basically, we are looking to bring about an endgame at Wenghao. He'll probably be fortified, but I did it with the bombing campaign and obviously the constant bombardment. His forces won't be in a great shape. Our own forces in the meantime, you can see here, they're really rather well rested. Morale could be significantly higher, but you can see fatigue is very low, disruption is 0. You can see their table equipment is lacking, especially the 22nd, so reinforcements would be quite appreciated here. But as far as it goes, we still have about 730 assault value there. That will rise as reinforcements do arrive in the area, but we'll be in a good position due to the fact that we'll actually have supply, while the Chinese forces will not. Now, we do see another Chinese force out here to the north. Now, this is only the 1 unit. I do have the 12th Independent Mixed Brigade over here, which is a decently sized unit, and it's a brigade at the end of the day. So they're going to be moving to intercept them, prevent their reinforcement of Wenghao, and we're going to be using them to reinforce Wenghao in the future. And as you can see at the moment, that has actually reopened the road over here, but obviously we do control this road here, So no supply is going to be making it into China. Well, making it into Wankou from the rest of China. As far as it goes for the Battle of Changsha, reinforcements have arrived this turn. So our numbers now stand at 55, well, just shy of 55,000 men there for the frontline troops and 61,886 for the second line. We do have a total of 612 vehicles, 999 guns. The good news is, that isn't the only reinforcement. We do have forces over here, so plenty of artillery that's going to be moving out as well. Nice amounts of heavy artillery, which is going to be coming, engineers, but more men, more artillery, more guns. Over here at at Chengchao, the men from Luoyang are on their way too. So you can see here we do have a number of divisions, we do have a number of armoured regiments, we do have a large and in charge number of heavy guns. They're also going to be making their way down. Obviously it's not in this save here, but they're on the rail lines in the proper one. So they're going to be making their way down here to Wuchang, where they will join the Chinese Stalingrad. We do have this force over here, the 4th Independent Mist Brigade. They're going to be heading out for Nanning, though I believe I didn't change their objective as of yet. So we're going to have a move to about this point here to cut them off from the road network. Which would be quite nice, at least that should help to sever them off for the time being. See what we can do with that, really. Okay. As far as it goes, really, we're looking to move our forces down here to Changsha. The battle will be fierce, but ultimately we will win. And once we do win here, because obviously the fighting at Changsha is not going to be as easy as Luoyang. Luoyang was clear terrain, while this is actual urban. It's light urban terrain, so it's still dangerous, still deadly. But as far as it goes, I'm going to be looking to starve the Chinese of supplies, which does mean that I do need to bring additional supplies into China myself to keep the rate up nice and strong. But we can definitely manage that a hell of a lot easier than the Chinese can. We're going to bring, well, we're going to bring a larger amount of guns, like a much larger amount of guns to bear, and especially vehicles, especially vehicles. On the air front, what I'm moving is from Tsingtao. I'm moving a number of Air Force Engineer units. I'm moving a number of Air Force Engineer units from around China. I'm also taking a mixed brigade from the north and having it sent down here to reinforce Wankou if it's needed. But yes, a lot of the actual Air Force Engineers are going to be moving out here to Hankow, where of course we do have a size 6 airfield. At the moment at the size 6 airfield, I have the Ki-43 1C Squadron, the 1st Sentai Squadron. They're currently looking about 38, and the 1 here. It's about 39 planes in total, obviously we could have a bit more. But yes, they're going to be moving over Changsha. They're currently set to sweep, but in the actual game they're set to combat patrol over Changsha. So what we're going to be doing then is we're going to wait for those Air Force Engineers to arrive at Hankow. From that moment, what I'm going to be doing then is moving my bombers from Formosa into central China. And I'm going to be looking towards bringing a second Ki-43 1C Squadron, or Ki-27s as well. But I'm going to be increasing my air presence in China. We've been dilly-dallying in China for a long time. We had a few days, really, of just good times where there's no resistance. Then obviously the Flying Tigers arrived. So, we're going to crush them. Absolutely. And the best news is, if I'm using 130, 140 bombers in central China against somewhere like Changsha, I can just annihilate their supply. And the thing is, once you hit that supply base there, I mean, it depends really. I mean, as far as it goes, I don't really need the airfield at Changsha, do I? It's a nice size one, I could always repair it for future. But the thing is, I don't need it. I've obviously got a very large one over here that isn't much further out. And it's safe, well fortified, well supplied. It's actually got a port so I can move supply directly to it on the rail line. So it's worthwhile. Probably a better one. I mean, this could be more useful as we move up this way, but we'll see. So, yeah, we'll look towards probably hitting the supply base on the airfield. And then once that is destroyed, once the airfield is knocked out, that's one of these large airfields in the center of China knocked out. So we'll do that. And then we'll start hitting the actual ground forces. But what I could potentially be doing then is actually hitting the forces to the rear on the other bases, really just causing issues. A large amount of bombers or a large amount of fighters is going to cause them a big headache. But this is it. We are looking towards engineering the endgame here in China. This is going to be the Stalingrad of the Far East. As the famous title goes, Stalingrad on the Yangtze. I'm not entirely, I don't believe it is a Yangtze River. I think the Yangtze is this over here. I don't know whether this is still counted as a Yangtze. But indeed, it will be our Stalingrad. So, beyond that, we moved H6K4s over here to Yokohama, Yokosuka. I moved H6K4s over here to Bihoro. We do have H6K4s over here at Wake and Midway. What I'm going to be doing then is, I've got engineers at the moment en route to Panamashiro-jima. So these guys over here. So you can see that we do have some AA, which is nice, and some actual engineers just to begin works. We'll build up the actual airfield really, which should be quite nice. But Panamashiro-jima will be basically upgraded into a true and proper base. Her position out here will be excellent. We'll run H6K4s from there. Basically give us eyes over the illusions, and basically eyes over this part of the Pacific on the approach to Japan. There should never be a point at which we are not aware of anything moving in that area. We must be aware of what's going on, as that gives us the means to actually react to it. Now then, another few changes. So I've accelerated the construction of the Unyo and the Chuyo. So they've been accelerated. They'll arrive earlier, which does mean that we'll have another 2 carrier escorts. Well, escort carriers that do have 27 air capacity each, which is very nice. I've gone ahead and accelerated the construction of the Ikitsuma-ru. She normally would arrive in 62 days. She should arrive in about half that time, in just over a month. Maybe about February time, perhaps. Having another landing ship dock will be very handy, especially for our offensive plans. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the state of the Empire. I do hope you guys approve of the plans. We are playing the long game. If the opportunity presents itself for us to snag a automatic victory, then so be it. But we're looking to settle down. As far as it goes for expansion in the Pacific, we really have achieved what I wanted to achieve. I'll tidy up these islands over here so seize the rest of these islands in this area. But as far as it goes, the expansion in the Pacific is pretty much... Well, actually, forgot about... well, so we'll be looking to have... Obviously, Savai's included there. Okay. So we'll be looking at something like that. Now, in the future, we'll be able to snag, pick up, and go, and basically cut this area off from the rest of the Allied forces as such. These men over here, they're just going to sit around looking pretty. We'll move on Fiji in the future. But at least in the meantime, those men aren't doing anything useful, which is very good. Our objective was New Caledonia. Originally it was Fiji, but we did switch out for New Caledonia as it did make more sense. It's far easier to reach and far easier to control. It gives us control of the Coral Sea. But as far as it goes, we have our borders for 1942, really. We'll conquer the Dutch East Indies. We'll accelerate the actual conquest of the Dutch East Indies as well, actually, which will be quite good. So we'll be looking at about 7 divisions. And a brigade, probably additional forces as well, be moved into that numerous naval guard units. We're going to accelerate the we're going to completely accelerate the conquest of the Dutch East Indies. And go from there, really. The Kitapatai is to finally move away from Australia. I'm looking to probably keep them around about Truk, somewhere in the Central Pacific, really. I want them able to respond to enemy threats as they are presented. As far as I'm concerned, carrier raids against the Marshalls, or carrier raids against the South Pacific as such, we will be able to deal with that. I'm not going to rouse the Kitapatai for just any sort of threat. We'll rouse the carrier force when we actually have an opportunity to strike a decisive blow. Anything beyond that, and when I do say decisive, I mean it has to be decisive. As far as I'm concerned, a hit to our own carrier is just as bad as a defeat, really. We might sink all of his carriers, but if I have damaged my own carriers, if one of my carriers is, God forbid, it lost, then, yeah, that's still a defeat in the long run. Because I can't afford to lose carriers. I can't afford to have carriers out of the war. I've got to always have them. I've got to always have them able to be used. That's where we'll actually be greeted with the most success. But the Empire's economy is doing well. We're obviously going to be refining the convoys, but we'll be running convoys from Borneo in the near future. And obviously just getting the supplies and oil back to Japan, keeping things going. The Dutch East Indies is going to provide the fuel for the Imperial Japanese Navy in the meantime, which is going to be quite nice. So until next time, guys, thank you so very much for watching. I do hope that you have dearly enjoyed the series so far. And if you guys are enjoying it so far, then please do go ahead and consider becoming a patron of mine. It does help me out significantly. It helps me to buy new books, and it helps me to carry on doing this. It makes a big old difference. And of course, if you guys are not on the Discord, please go ahead and join the Discord and say a big hello to THG for me as well. And, yeah, go ahead and follow his channel as well. He's a superb opponent and a great guy. Big into baseball. Until next time, guys, thank you. And Tenno, Heika, Banzai.